Hi, happy new year, everybody. It's been a while. I've been gone for a while. I have a reason, but that aside, I'm so happy to be here and I want to wish everybody happy new year. I thank you guys for all of your support and your like. I'd like to thank my old subscribers, the new ones and the intending ones. Thank you guys so much for all your likes and your support. If it's not for you guys, I won't be here today. So thank you guys so very much. On today's video, I'll be sharing how to draft a collar, a shirt collar, that's a two-piece shirt collar, and also I'll be showing you how to sew the shirt collar. So if you want to learn how to do this, watch this video to the end. And if you like this video, please give me a huge thumbs up, subscribe, share, comment, and also recommend this channel to your friends. Okay, so first off, let's just jump straight into the video. Now you'll be needing your pattern for the shirt pattern for your collar. So if you've not seen a video on how I drafted the shirt pattern, I will also leave that in the description box. A lot of goodies for you guys to watch. So you need the front and the back shirt pattern of your shirt. Now the reason why you've been doing that is for the collar, for the neck of your shirt, you need to measure the front and the back. So you need to take the measurement of your front shirt pattern and also the measurements of your back shirt pattern. Now in that shirt pattern, you can see that I took away 1 inch and added it to the back. So you're going to be adding that 1 inch when you take your measurement. And also note that you'll be taking your measurement without the seam allowance and you're going to stop at the button line. So you're not going to be extending your button line for your shirt collar. So you're just going to stop at that button line. So I did my own measurement, and after taking my front measurement, I had 5 inches. Now move on to the back. So for the back, I also do the same thing. I measured the neck depth of my back shirt pattern without the seam allowance, and what I had was 3.5. So for the front, I had 5 inches, and for the back, I had 3.5. Now after this, we're going to take a fresh pattern paper to transfer all of those measurements on it. Okay, now we are going to transfer the measurements that we took from the shirt pattern. So you get yourself a fresh pattern paper and draw a straight line on that pattern paper. So we are going to be creating the collar stand and the collar fall. So first we are going to create the collar stand first. So on that straight line, I'm going to just get the midpoint of that straight line that I just drew on this pattern paper, and from that midpoint I'll place the front shirt pattern neckline that we took and also the back shirt neckline. So I'll just mark the 5 inch for the front and 5 inch and 3.5 inch for the back. So we're taking all of our measurements from the center line that I drew. So after taking all those points, I'm just going to label what each of the points are. So this is the center front and the other side is the center back. Now to create the collar stand, you need to know how wide you want the collar stand to be on the neck of your shirt. So for this tutorial, I'll be taking 1.25 inch for the collar stand. But before I draw that 1.25, at the center front, I will go up by 0.5 inch. The reason for going up by 0.5 inch is to create a kind of curve for this collar. You know your neck is not a straight line, so you need to give it a slight curve at the edges. So I'll just take ½ inch up at the center line and I come down to the center back, and then I'll take 1.25 inch for the width of the collar stand. Now from that center front and from that 0.5 inch that I took upward, I'm going to connect it to the center line that I marked on this paper, on my pattern paper, to create the curve that you usually see on your collar stand. Okay, so I'm just going to do that now, and this is what we have. So after creating this, next up what we are going to do is to create the width of our collar stand. So like I said, I'll be making use of 1.25 inch. So I'm going to be placing 1.25 inch from the center front to the center back, and then use my pattern master to connect those curves together. Now, depending on how wide you want it to be, the minimum you can do is 1 inch, but I'm going to be doing 1.5 inch for this tutorial. So that's what I'll just do now. I'll mark 1.25 inch all across till we get to the center back, and then we use our ruler to connect all the points together. So I have connected all of the points. I've joined the dots, and this is what the collar stand is looking like. So at the center back, I'll just extend the line upward. Just give it a straight line, just extend it upward. Now we're going to do the overlap for the button. You know that small little overlap you see on the shirt collar? We're going to do it. So what you need to do is to grab your shirt pattern. Again, that's the front shirt pattern, and you're going to be measuring the space for your button extension. So whatever you have there, you take that and you place it on that overlap part of your collar. So on my shirt pattern, I measured mine and I had 0.75 inch. So I'll take 0.75 inch from the button overlap that I measured, and I'll come down to that point where I took 0.5 inch upward. I'm going to mark that extension of 0.75. I'll use my ruler to mark that extension outward. And then next we are going to take your curve part of your pattern master or your French curve, whatever curve you have, and then you just create that curve that you see on the front extension of your collar shirt, and this is what it looks like. So now that we've gotten the collar stand for this shirt pattern, next we're going to move over to the collar fall. So to do that, on the center back line, you're going to go up by 0.75 inch. Okay, just mark 0.75 inch and also mark another 0.75 inch again. So we have two 0.75 inch on the center back line. And the first mark that you made, you're going to connect it with a straight line to that point where you have a straight line at the center front line. So I hope you can understand that. So you just connect it with a straight line. Now the other point, the other 0.75 inch that we marked upward at the center back line, we're also going to connect it to that point at the center front line, but this time around we're not going to connect it with a straight line. We're going to give it a curve. We're going to curve it in. You know, when you do, you know, the curve that we have at the collar stand, it needs to correspond with what we're about to do now. So we're going to create that curve and also extend it to that point as well. So I just did that now. You just use the curved part of your pattern master to transfer that curve to that point. So you see we have a straight line in the middle, and we have a curve that looks like that of the collar stand. So now after this, next what we're going to do is to create the collar stand. So how do you do that? We've created the down part of the collar stand already. So what we need to do is to create the top part of our collar. So we're going to be creating the collar fall now, and to do that, from that point where we just created that curve, we're going to take 1.75 inch for the width of the collar. Now you can do 2 inches, which is maximum. I think if you go above 2 inches, it'll be too wide and a little bit uncomfortable for you. So I will recommend you go 2 inches max. But for the sake of this video, I will go 1.75 at the center back. Now at the center front line, I'm going to be extending that line upward as well. So I'll extend that line upward and we'll just draw a straight line to it. Now what I'll do is, on that center front line, I have 2 straight lines on both the center front and the center back. So from the center front line, I'll go up by 3 inches. You know that for your collar, the front is usually a little bit longer than what you have going on at the back and at the side. So I took 3 inches for the center front extension, and I will connect the 2 points together with a straight line. And at that straight line that I drew at the center front, I'm going to go out a little by 0.5 inch just to give it that triangular pointed shape that we are all familiar with a collar. So that's what I'll do now. I've just taken 0.5 inch extension outward, and I'll use my ruler to connect from that point to meet the 0.5 inch that I just marked, and then I'm going to just redraw the top of this collar to just give it some slight curve at the tip and also at some part of the base. So now I've adjusted the base of the collar fall, Next, I'm going to place all of my markings on it, all the measurements that I used to achieve the color stand and the color fall. I'm going to just indicate all of these markings on the pattern, and after this I'm going to get a separate piece of paper, a separate pattern paper, and I'm going to be transferring this markings. I'm going to be tracing off the color stand and the color fall separately on a separate piece of pattern paper, just so that we can add our seam allowances to it and then transfer it to our fabric. Alright, so guys, I have traced out the collar fall and the collar stand, and note that at the center back that part is going to be on fold. Okay, so you're going to put that part on fold. You can also see that I have traced it out and I have added my seam allowances all around it. And do take notes also, when you cut, you are cutting 2 pieces for each, 2 pieces for the collar fall and 2 pieces for the collar stand. So after cutting this out, we're going to take it to our fabric and we're going to cut out this exact shape on our fabric. So I placed the pattern on my fabric and I placed my fabric on fold. Like I said, at that center back line, you place your fabric on fold. I cut out 2 pieces for each of the pattern for the collar fall and the collar stand. And also note that I cut out an interfacing for the collar fall. Now the interfacing you're not cutting with the seam allowance, you're only cutting exactly what you have as the shape of the collar fall. So we are using the interfacing to give the collar fall some kind of structure and to give it stability. You know, when you touch your collar, it kind of stiff a little. So that is what the interfacing is going to do. So I cut out one interfacing that I'm going to fuse on one part of the collar fall, and you can see that I cut out 2 different pieces of fabric for my collar. I just want you to, understand what I'm doing. That's why I used 2 different color of fabric. I used the Ankara and the other color. Okay, now we're going to go and iron the interfacing at the wrong side of the collar. That is the collar fall where we want the interfacing to stay on. So like I said, the essence of an interfacing is just to give the collar stand a structure and to make it stiff, not very strong but stiff enough to stand on its own. So you can see I placed it on my fabric and I have half an inch extra at the bottom and also at the top and also at the sides. Now I'll take this to my iron and I'm going to iron it on my fabric, and this is what it looks like after ironing it on the fabric. Next, you're going to take the other parts of the collar fall and then you place them right sides facing each other on top of each other. And next, after placing them right sides on each other, you're going to take it to your sewing machine and you're going to run a stitch from one end at the bottom up onto the top and then to the other end of the bottom. So you're not going to be closing the bottom of your collar fall, you're only going to be closing the top. So you're going to be sewing from one side of the collar to the top and then down to the other side. So now after we are done stitching, next I'm going to turn the collar inside out, but I'm going to also take out some of the edges, and just so that when you poke that part out, you have a sharp edge at your collar. So I'll just take out those pointed edges there, and now we're going to turn the collar inside out to reveal all the good work that we've just did. So now I'm turning the collar inside out and I'm also going to give it a quick press so that it stays flat and nice. Another thing we're going to do after giving it a quick press, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and run a top stitch on it. You know, when you see your shirt collar, you see that top stitch at the collar of your shirt. Yes, so I'm going to go run a top stitch from the bottom, from the side up to the top and then down to the side again. So we'll run a top stitch there and then we'll come back, and next we're going to be joining the collar fall to the collar stand. So that's what I've done now. Now after stitching, this is what it looks like. I use the white thread so that you can also see the effect of the top stitch that we did. So after making this top stitch, you take your collar stand, make sure you get the midpoints. You can see I already have a crease line there, so you can use your iron to determine where the midpoint is. So on your collar fall as well, make sure that you get the midpoint because you're going to be joining these two curved edges together, and you need to do that very carefully. So I'll take one part of my collar stand, right side on the collar 4, right sides facing each other, and also I'll flip it to the other side as well, right side facing each other. And I'm going to use my pins to hold down all of these edges together so that we can go run a straight stitch from one end to the other. So I'm just joining the two pieces together like so at the midpoint, and also sandwiching all of the other sides with my pins. Now I've pinned everything down. You can see I've held down all of the edges. Next, you're going to run a stitch from the collar extension, from one part of the collar extension to the other part of the collar extension. Make sure that you sew on the 1/2 inch seam and the ones that you created on your pattern. Okay, so that's what we do now. I'll run a stitch from one side of the collar extension to the other side of the collar extension, and after that we're going to trim off some of the excesses that we do not need. Like I say, bulkiness is not good for your collar, so if you have excess after you've joined these two pieces together, you need to cut off the bulkiness so that it stays flat and nice. Okay, so I'm going to just cut out some of the excesses that I don't need, and next I'm going to turn it to reveal what the collar stand looks like, to reveal what our collar looks like in general. So what I'll do now is to just give it a good press as well, and also I'll be running a top stitch from one part of the collar extension to the other part of the collar extension. So you see I've given a quick press, and this is where it looks flat, neat and clean. So I'm going to run a top stitch from one part of the collar extension to the other part of the collar extension, like what we did for the collar 4, and after that our collar is ready. Yeah, so basically we are done, and this is what it looks like. Isn't this looking beautiful, gorgeous and nice? So the other part that is open at the collar stand is where you're going to be attaching your shirt to. So if you can make yours and share with us on this platform, and if you have any questions, please do well to put them down in the comment section. Until I see you guys in my next video, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for watching my videos to the end. I appreciate you, and come back again. All right, if you like this video, please give me a huge thumbs up, and also subscribe, put on notification bell if you haven't done that already. All right guys, thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video. Remain blessed, stay positive, and keep loving wherever you are. Bye.